Friends, from this session onwards, we are into grammar section. For next couple of sessions, we are going to discuss grammar. I hope you remember we have modal auxiliary verbs, then past tense and degrees of comparison in grammar part. So first let's take up modal auxiliary verbs and then degrees of comparison and then past tense. Okay. What are these modal auxiliary verbs? Auxiliary in the sense helping. Auxiliary is helping. Auxiliary verbs provide additional and specific meaning to the main verb of the sentence. So in any sentence, we use a main verb and a helping verb depending on the necessity. So modal auxiliary or auxiliary verb is nothing but a helping verb used along with a main verb to specify some meaning. There are two types of auxiliary verbs: primary auxiliaries and modal auxiliaries. Primary auxiliaries are verbs used to form negatives, questions and tenses that are known as primary auxiliaries. And what are these primary auxiliaries? Have a look at this table. In the present, we use am, is, are as primary auxiliary verbs, and in the past tense we use was and were, that is in to be form, and in to have form, in have forms, in the present we use have, has, and in past tense we use had as the primary auxiliary verb. Talking about to do forms, we use do and does in the present tense, and we use did in the past tense. So these are called primary auxiliary verbs. We use them in different contexts, maybe to make an interrogative sentence, or to indicate past action or present action, whether ongoing action or the action that is complete. It depends on what we would like to suggest. Look at a few examples of this kind. Primary auxiliaries. I am a doctor. Look at this. I am. And he is. This is a helping verb. He is 10 years old. They are in the present. They are. They is plural, therefore we use a plural helping verb. They are. And he is singular, therefore he was, past tense. He was. And we is plural, were, past tense helping verb for plural subject. We were intelligent. So primary auxiliary verbs act as both main verb and helping verb, depending on the usage. By now, let's come to understand what modal auxiliary verbs are. Till now we discussed main modal auxiliary verbs, primary auxiliary verbs, and now let's discuss modal auxiliary verbs. So these modal auxiliaries are helping verbs that have different or that give different shades of meaning to the main verb to which they are attached. So it depends on the main verb with which we use this modal auxiliary, and it gives meaning accordingly. Modals help to express the mood or attitude of the speaker and convey ideas about possibility, probability, necessity, obligation, and permission. So that's how modal auxiliaries are used to suggest what is the attitude or mood of the speaker. have a look at this list of modal auxiliaries. Can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, must, and ought to. We also use need sometimes, but very rarely. That's not included here in the list. Okay, let's consider some examples to understand how modal auxiliary verbs express attitude or the mood of the speaker. Remember, before that, let's understand modal auxiliaries in a better way. Modals don't have an s or ed or ing at the end of that word. For example, can used as can and could. No cans, no coulds, or canned, canning. No, it is not verb formation. Remember, we use them just as they are. Can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, and may, might, ought to. Okay, look at this sentence. He can drive is right. We cannot say he can't drive. No. So we don't try to alter or change the modal auxiliary verb. Rather, we use them as they are, but to suggest a specified attitude or mood. And modals also are not used with an infinite, like here infinite means to form, to be form, like to go, to come, like that. Look at this example. We say he can go, but we cannot say he can to go. No. And also, to form negatives in modal auxiliary verbs, we write not after the modal, like he should not go. See, not is placed after should. Should is a modal auxiliary verb, and if you want to frame a negative sentence in modal auxiliary verbs using modal auxiliaries, remember to place not after the modal. He should not go. Okay, see, this is how we can use modal auxiliaries. We can play football. See, here can refers possibility. Yes, we can play, and we also say can also refers to ability. We can play football means ನಾವು ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್ ಆಟವನ್ನು ಆಡಬಹುದು, ಅಂದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿನೂ ಇದೆ, ಎಬಿಲಿಟಿನೂ ಇದೆ ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟ್ ಟೆನ್ಸಲ್ಲಿ. ವಿ ಕುಡ್ ಪ್ಲೇ ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್, ಇಲ್ಲಿ ಕುಡ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಇಟ್ ರೆಫರ್ಸ್ ಟು ಪಾಸ್ಟ್ ಆ್ಯಕ್ಷನ್, ಅಗೇನ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ ಆರ್ ಈವನ್ ಎಬಿಲಿಟಿ. ವಿ ಮೇ ಪ್ಲೇ ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್, ನಾವು ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್ ಆಟ ಆಡಬಹುದು, ಮೇ ಬಿ. ವಿ ಮೇ ಪ್ಲೇ ಅಂದರೆ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಲೆಸ್ ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ, ಆಡ್ಬೋದು, ಆಡಲಿಕ್ಕಿಲ್ಲ. ಆ್ಯಂಡ್ ಇನ್ ದ ಸೇಮ್ ವೇ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಪ್ರೆಸೆಂಟಲ್ಲಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ವಿ ಮೈಟ್ ಪ್ಲೇ, ಆಡಬಹುದಿತ್ತು, ಅಲ್ಲೂ ಕೂಡ ಏನಿದೆ ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿಯನ್ನು ಸಜೆಸ್ಟ್ ಮಾಡುತ್ತೆ, ಪ್ರೊಬ್ಯಾಬಿಲಿಟಿ. ವಿ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ಲೇ ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್, ವಿ ಮಸ್ಟ್, ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಎಕ್ಸ್ಪ್ರೆಸಸ್ ಕಂಪಲ್ಷನ್, ಒಬ್ಲಿಗೇಷನ್, ಆಡಲೇಬೇಕು, ನಾವು ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್ ಆಡಲೇಬೇಕು. ವಿ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಪ್ಲೇ, ಲೈಕ್ ವಿ ಸೇ ಯು ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಸ್ಟಡಿ ಫಾರ್ ಬೆಟರ್ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್. ಬೆಟರ್ ರಿಸಲ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಬೇಕು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಓದಲೇಬೇಕಲ್ಲ. ಸೊ ದಟ್ಸ್ ವೇರ್ ವಿ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಟು ಮೀನ್ ಕಂಪಲ್ಷನ್, ಕಂಪಲ್ಸರಿ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಆ ಮೂಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ಆ್ಯಟಿಟ್ಯೂಡನ್ನು ತೋರ್ಸೋಕ್ಕೆ ಇಷ್ಟಪಡ್ತೀವಿ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡಬೇಕು. ಯು ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಗೋ ಟು ಸ್ಕೂಲ್, ಯು ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಗೋ ಟು ಕಾಲೇಜ್, ಯು ಮಸ್ಟ್ ಡೂ ಯುವರ್ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ. Right? I hope you understand. And we ought to play football. Okay, consider this sentence. We ought to. Ought is a modal and it is always used with to. Ought to. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ought to, the word signifies duty and obligation. One ought to do one's duty. You ought to study, right? We ought to work. ಇಲ್ಲಿ ought to ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಅಂದರೆ ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದಾಗ ಏನಾಗುತ್ತೆ, ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಮಾಡಲೇಬೇಕು, ಅದರಲ್ಲಿ ಆಪ್ಷನ್ ಇಲ್ಲ. ಡ್ಯೂಟಿ ಶುಡ್ ಬಿ ಪರ್ಫಾರ್ಮ್ಡ್, ಆ ಥರದಲ್ಲಿ ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಈ ವರ್ಡನ್ನು ಯೂಸ್ ಮಾಡ್ತೀವಿ. ವಿ ಶಾಲ್ ಪ್ಲೇ ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್. ಅಗೇನ್ ಶಾಲ್ ರೆಫರ್ಸ್ ಟು ಎ ಫ್ಯೂಚರ್ ಟೆನ್ಸ್. ಆಡಬಹುದು ನಾವು. ವಿ ಶಾಲ್ ಪ್ಲೇ, ಆಡೋಣ ನಾವು ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್, ಆಟ ಆಡೋಣ. ಸಜೆಷನ್. ವಿ ಶುಡ್ ಪ್ಲೇ ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್, ಆಡಲೇಬೇಕು ನಾವು. ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ಲೈಕ್ ಎ ಡಾಕ್ಟರ್ ಟೆಲ್ಸ್ ಎ patient, you should quit smoking, you should quit alcohol, you should stop bad habits, you should go for a walk in the morning, you should exercise every day. ಅರ್ಥ ಆಗ್ತಿದೆ ಅಂದ್ಕೊಂಡಿದ್ದೀನಿ. ಶುಡ್ ಏನು ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಇಲ್ಲಿ, ಯಾವ ಆಟಿಟ್ಯೂಡ್ ಅಥವಾ ಮೂಡ್ ಹೇಳುತ್ತೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೆ ಅಡ್ವೈಸ್. ಓಕೆ, ಫೈನ್. We will play football. Probability again. We will, future probability. We will play football. ಆಡೋಣ ನಾವು ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್ ಆಟ ಆಡೋಣ. We would play football. We would, ಆಡ್ಬೋದಿತ್ತು. If there was no rain yesterday, we would play football. ನಿನ್ನೆ ಮಳೆ ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಿದ್ರೆ ನಾವು ಫುಟ್ಬಾಲ್ ಆಡ್ಬೋದಿತ್ತು, ರೈಟ್? ಪಾಸಿಬಿಲಿಟಿ. So this is how modal auxiliary verbs express different moods and attitudes depending on the context, but more or less they have some signified attitude to suggest, right? Okay. Yes, let's go on. They also have short forms like should, shouldn't, would, wouldn't, will, would, ಈ ಥರನಾಗಿ. can't, couldn't, mightn't, shouldn't, oughtn't to, won't, will plus not, when used in negative form. Won't, I won't go, I wouldn't do it. So this is how. Also note, make a note to use negative forms of auxiliary verbs in this way in short forms. Okay, with this what we have discussed in this class is that we got to know what are auxiliary verbs, that there are two types, primary and modal auxiliaries. Primary helping verbs are these, and modal auxiliary verbs are these: can, could, may, might, will, would, shall, should, must, ought, and need. And these are some clarifications on how to use modals and how not to, and where to place not. And these are some examples and their meanings. Used in different contexts, modal auxiliary verbs, they mean they give different meaning. Now can and could refer to ability and possibility. May and might again refer to probability. May in present, might in past tense. Must is compulsion, and ought to calls for obligation or duty. Shall, no, future reference. Should, advice. Shall also mean advice, no doubt. Then will, future action. Would, again a possibility in the past. Fine. With this let's call it a day, friends. Let's continue the discussion on modal auxiliaries in next session.